Okay, I think we are streaming. So, good morning, everyone. This is Michelle Oliver, and welcome to Talk About TV. And on Wednesday mornings, we bring to you one thing you don't know about experiential outdoor hospitality. And today's episode is what you don't know about lagoons. And I bet there's a lot that all of you don't know about lagoons. So I'm absolutely delighted to be here today with Kim Jenkins of Clair Lagon. And Kim, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so can you share, just give us, if you would, a brief introduction. What is Clair Lagon and why do you exist other than to bring, actually, I think I put this in the description. We're making dreams come true and creating paradise. And you really are changing everything. Like I remember the days of predictable swimming pools, and those days are now over because of you. So share a little bit about where you come from and what this is all about.
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. Clair Lagon originated in France. We've just come to the U.S. market this year. In our France location, we've built over 70 lagoons since 2009 across France and the European market. And we're very happy to be expanding now into the US market, which creates a lot of different channels for us that we haven't traditionally seen in France. So excited to be hitting the US market. I spent 30 years in the landscape industry. So of course I love outdoors, beautifying
Yeah.
outdoor spaces, and really creating that sense of connection with nature. Because, I'm a firm believer that really, rejuvenates us and, does something for our souls. So when I, met the team at Clair Lagon, was, incredibly impressed by, what the team was doing and was ecstatic to have the opportunity to, introduce that to the US market. And so that's what we are in the process of doing.
I love this so much. And, we're in experiential outdoor hospitality, right? So, what is that about? Experiences, outdoors, and hospitality. And you really just address all three of those with this one, what I would call a tremendously powerful revenue producing, life changing amenity core for any. I know that sounds like a big sales pitch, but it's really true. So if you have an RV resort or a campground or a hotel, I mean, this can come in virtually to any property, correct? Like what are the
Absolutely.
limitations around this, if any?
So really it's land space, right? How much land do you have to work with is really the only limitation that we run into. We have built small lagoons, large lagoons. We have some newer models that are really m- 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 very tiny in comparison to a traditional lagoon. That could really go in someone's backyard or be used in an RV resort, as a private lagoon up against some accommodations, overnight accommodations. So, you could really have that, overnight accommodation with your own private lagoon, if you weren't looking to do something of a large scale, like, what you see in most of our photos. But really, there's no limitations, other than location and having enough land space to build. So we can build large, small. We can create any vibe with it. So whether you want a tropical feel, whether you want, that Sahara Desert feel, Lake Tahoe feel, the landscaping and the accommodations, or cabanas that surround it really kind of give it the vibe, for whatever you're going for. So we can truly tie that into, the natural surroundings that are, already there on site.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I can't believe you can do your own private. So you can go very
Yeah,
small to large scale. And what's amazing about this is I think it's so important because when someone thinks lagoon and they see a palm tree, they think, well, maybe that's not my brand. But what I hear you saying is whatever the natural surroundings are, whatever your brand, you can just continue that storyline. And this really pulls the guest into that whole guest journey of like, what is your story? What is the transformation or the experience that you're trying to create for your guests? And it's so magical. And something else I'd like you to address, if you would, because in the very, I'm looking behind you at the water feature, and I know you can add like all kinds of pretty creative water features. And one, I think I saw a slide on your
Yeah.
site.
So,
So yeah,
we have, we don't do large slides. So if, you're looking to have like a water park sized water slide, that wouldn't be, wouldn't necessarily work with our lagoon. We have installed lagoons in water parks, but those larger slides, are traditionally, next to the lagoon. So we can still tie them in, and make it fit with the environment. But we do have a customer who wanted a slide, originally started out wanting a large, water park water slide. And, through, working with them on, designing that lagoon, we were able to incorporate a water slide into the water feature. So they'll have a waterfall that's made out of rock, beautiful waterfall that will have a water slide that wraps around, kind of comes out of the water or out of the waterfall and into the lagoon. So, again, they had their heart set on having, something like that for the kids. And we were able to accomplish that with, the water slide there in the water feature. And we've had other customers, who wanted play areas. We've done some in France with a splash pad adjacent to the lagoon. And then we've also had some designs that we've done with, a more natural type playground that is right there, inside the fencing along with the lagoon. So the parents can relax by the lagoon. The kids can be running back and forth, from the play area to the lagoon and, burning off that energy.
yeah. No, I love that you have all these custom features. So let's talk a little bit about the advantages of a situation like this, like a lagoon versus a swimming pool. Because the first thing when you're talking about kids, I remember the whole thing about pools and kids is you never really relax. You never really
Right.
relax because the water's too deep, the concrete is too hard, there's too many uh, variables and liabilities. So,
Absolutely.
what are some of the advantages of a lagoon over a swimming pool?
So with our lagoons, there's a zero entry, surrounding the entire lagoon. So you don't have any, deep drop offs that you have to worry about, the kids running and falling into the water area. Of course, no hard surfaces. So, if they do trip and fall, they're not going down on concrete. They're going to land on some nice soft sand, which, is not going to be nearly detrimental to that sensitive skin is what the concrete's going to be. So you have those advantages. Obviously, we've got, the crystal clear blue water, so you can see them, see what they're doing. And we don't typically go as deep as a pool. Now that is something that can be done. We can accommodate that if, a customer really wants the depth. That's not a problem. But what we do find is that most of our clients tend to stay around the 4.5 to 5 foot um, depth. And the reason for that is, if you actually go to the beach and you watch people out in the water, that's the space that most people tend to stay in. You do have the
Absolutely.
one person who wants to swim out as far as they can until they can't see the beach anymore. But the majority of people are in that 4.5 to 5 foot space, and they're throwing the ball with the kids, swimming with the kids, throwing them in the water. That's where I stand and talking, having a drink with their friends. They all tend to stay in that space. And so, most of our customers don't go any deeper than that. And we have found that it really hasn't been a deterrent from the lagoon. Like most people love it as it is. And, we haven't seen any complaints about them not being deeper, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect depth. It's like playtime. It's not like you're having
Exactly.
people in there swimming laps or something. So, the other thing that comes to mind, I know we have discussed this in the past, but that people might be wondering about is the maintenance for the sand. Like, what do you have to do? Can you speak to that a little bit so everyone can understand?
Absolutely. So, raking the sand, there's, a lot of tools on the market that, you can rake that beach area with. So, maintaining of that beach area is really simple. You can get a drag, attach it to an ATV, and drag it in, a matter of, 10, 15 minutes. So, the maintaining of the beach side is really easy to accomplish. The inside the lagoon, the water area itself, the only thing that you have to do in the water space is just go around the edge, and it depends on how many people you have coming into the lagoon. And of course, as they're walking in the lagoon, you're going to have some shifting of the sand in the water basin. And so by going around with we have like a rake that's solid that you just simply walk around the outside edge and pull back that sand so that it doesn't all slide into the base, the basin of the lagoon. And then aside from that, it's just pulling out the water filters. So in our filtration system, we will have some Japanese matte filters that need to be pulled out and sprayed down. We typically provide our clients with a set of 4 of those. So, and only 2 need to be in at any given time. So you can slide 2 in, pull the old 2 out, wash them, and do your maintenance and never have to, shut any operations down. Everything can keep flowing while you're doing your maintenance.
Oh, that's amazing. It sounds like actually less maintenance than a regular pool. And so in the comparison, and the only reason I'm speaking to the comparison is that I think that's where people's minds might go. They
Sure.
might just be like, hey, we're used to doing this. We've always done it this way. And that's that fixed mindset that we're always trying to assist people in expanding so that you can be really unique and provide your guests something just fantastic, like a lagoon. So, in comparison to a pool, like when you're actually implementing this as far as permits or restrictions, what are those compared to a pool? Is this considered like a swimming pool? Or I know that we had talked about there's some similarities between like maintaining a hot tub and a lagoon, the same kind of maintenance, or I don't know if
So,
it's
no, the
permitting or
maintenance wouldn't be the same. As far as permitting goes, it really depends on where you're building. So some states have a lagoon code that we follow, but very few of those, since it is, very new to the states, not all states have adopted that. And so if they haven't, developed a lagoon code on its own, then they would typically follow the pool code. And we have also found that in some of the more rural areas, there's no building codes on it at all, right? Or no permitting requirements, I should say. So we're able to install faster than you would a traditional pool because we're able to bypass a lot of that permitting process.
fantastic. Okay. I know I have tons of questions. I just absolutely love this so much. I think it's a beautiful way to have a lagoon with like no gators in it. Everywhere you go to like a real lagoon. So, but I am curious, in France, are you primarily in resorts? Are you in like campgrounds or like what types of properties have you been in there?
Yeah, so in France, we are primarily in resorts, amusement parks, and our main clients are RV glamping type accommodations or resorts. And so that's where we've seen, the majority of it take hold. And it's been really fun to watch happen because France had gone through a lot of what we see here in the States, where, through COVID, a lot of people started wanting to be outdoors more. And what they found was that, a lot of those outdoor accommodations or RV resorts, had not really kept up with the times, right? And they were a little bit dated. They really needed some, enhancements and some improvements. And so the lagoon has been a perfect addition to that. And in many cases, our customers have an existing pool. And we will tie the lagoon into that, right? It can go next to it. It can go completely separate from where the pool is. And so you can really tie those together. And so, you can accommodate both, right? If someone wants to get in and swim laps, they're probably want to go to your more traditional pool. If you want to relax with the kids and, just have a day out with the family, you're going to gravitate more towards the lagoon. And we've seen it take hold so much in France that we actually have customers now that will call up our RV parks and say, "Hey, do you have a lagoon?" right? And so customers want to know now if a lagoon is even on property before they do their booking. And so it's been really, fun to see that transition and it take hold to the point that people are asking for it and they don't want to come and they don't want to book unless there's a lagoon on site.
Of course. This is why we are so excited to be collaborating with you. I just want to invite, I mean, we could talk all day. I know I'm supposed to keep this very short, but I encourage anyone who is curious about this to reach out to either one of us, and we can get on a call and have a conversation about what would be possible for you at your unique resort, or property, whatever that property might be. It's such an extraordinary focal point for any type of resort. It really is. I mean, when you think about it as an initial amenity core and the accommodations that you could have around it and the branding and the decor and the merchandise, and I mean the food and like you just go on and on. It's just kind of an anchor that opens up all kinds of revenue for you, and in doing so the revenue produces the experience that your guests want. So it's just doing the right things for the right reasons in a creative, refreshing, exciting, enchanting way, as you referred to paradise. So if you have any closing words, that's great. And I also just invite anyone who wants to talk about creating paradise at your resort,
Yeah.
reach out to us, because it's so fun and it's so new. It's not happening here yet. So this is a way to be like on the cutting edge of what's possible.
Absolutely. And I really think it's going to take hold and it's going to be, the next
Yep.
biggest thing in the industry.
Yep.
So, and I think, the really fun thing, and Michelle, you and I have talked about it a lot, is, all of the opportunities to drive revenue. And every time we sit down and start thinking of the ways that you can accomplish that, and the fun things that you can have that go in conjunction with the lagoon, it really is endless. And every time we talk, we come up with new ideas. So call us so we can share those with you and
Yeah.
actually install an amenity that can drive revenue.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And then just a couple last things is Kim is going to you'll be at the glamping show here,
I will.
right?
Yes.
In Aurora, here in Colorado, the first part of October. I think it's the first and second and third, something like that. So if you're going to be going to the glamping show, look for her. And then after that, a couple weeks after that, we are launching a series every month. So Kim and Cornell and Randy and I will be on here talking about all the ways that you can just add an amazing lagoon and all the details around it. So as you begin to like expand in the US, and I know there's a tremendous amount of interest right now. So just again, not wanting to be really salesy here, but I just encourage you guys to talk to us and be one of the first to implement this, so that when people book and they start saying, do you have a lagoon? You can say, absolutely, we do. And a towel to go with it, etc. Right? So yeah. Okay. Well, thank you